So, Robert, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. And I have just a couple of questions for you. And if you want to say anything else, I'm more than happy. And thank you again for doing this. Yep. And just letting you know that this interview will be shown in Thailand and Japan. Yep. That's it.
I have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah, maybe.
What are you saying, Rommie?
I'm saying that thank you for doing this, and this interview will be shown in Thailand and Japan. And yeah.
Thailand and Japan.
Yep.
Yeah, it's called enunciation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if you move your mic slightly closer, I'm not sure.
No, it's his power.
Oh,
He's got no power. You have to learn to use your breath to push the energy out. You're speaking with your mouth only. You should take Blair's course.
Okay, I'll do that, Robert. Yep.
Energy.
Okay. Yep.
You sound like a fucking school teacher.
Okay. Can you hear me better now? Yep.
Yeah, your energy is going to come up. Energies. You speak from your diaphragm. You're speaking from your mouth. So you're okay if it was conversational. You and I are sitting across the table from each other, but right now you're projecting to Japan and Thailand. So your energy is going to come up to carry.
Okay, Robert, I'll do that right now.
Much better. Fuck, take Blair's course.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Okay. Okay, so just want to say thank you for doing this, Robert, and thank you again. And we'll just go ahead. I have couples of questions for you, and after that, like if you have anything to say, you can take over. Is that okay?
Yeah, you've got to get your energy up, Rommie.
Okay.
You're dropping on me. You're speaking from your fucking mouth. Speak from your stomach.
Okay, I will do that.
That's better. Good. You're losing power real fast. You lose power so fast. Okay, you cannot do that. If you're going to be a public speaker, if we're one-on-one, you're okay. I can talk like this, you know. We'll have a nice time and we'll chat and do all that shit.
Okay,
Nobody
Robert.
here.
Yep, I'll be in my power.
Okay, let's go. Let's start.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Robert, for doing this. So let's start. The first question is, where are we now as an economy, and what got us here, and where are we heading in the future?
What, economically?
Yep.
We're going into the biggest depression the world has ever seen, where it's called, and I'm a student of financial history. And I just did an interview with Jim Rogers, who was George Soros's partner in Quantum Fund yesterday. So if you can pick it up on Rich Dad Radio. And he said the two most important subjects that a person can study are history and philosophy. But he says the problem with studying history and philosophy is that history proves humans do not learn from history. So today the world is in the biggest bubble ever blown. And idiots are, again, this is like 2006, 2007, real estate is blowing up people are just into real estate. People are into stocks and bonds. People are into bonds. And people are into crypto. This is called a mania. And every time there's a mania, it doesn't end well for people who do not learn from history. So I'll just say this again, is one of the reasons I can talk to you, or this is what Jim Rogers said, and which I agree 100% with. He says, you don't really need to understand accounting. I mean, you don't have to be an accountant, because accountants just are technicians. Okay, but you have to study history and philosophy. And this is Rich Dad Radio if you guys are interested. So history will prove that we're about to go into the biggest depression in world history. That's really good news for those who study history. But if you're really stupid and you're chasing the stock market, the bond market, crypto, and real estate, you're going to be a casualty of history. The other thing he said was the second subject is called philosophy. So I'm coming out with a new book called The Capitalist Manifesto. And the reason is I studied Marxism, fascism, Stalinism, Leninism, and Maoism. Those are philosophies. So I don't care if you're a communist, and I don't care if you're a capitalist, but those are just philosophies. A philosophy is no different than are you a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or a, what do you call that, Mormon. Those are philosophies. And people will kill for a philosophy, as you know. You know, I mean, people, the Christians kill Jews. It's a philosophy. That's all it is. But philosophies separate people. So it's not race, it's not gender. It's what is your, in my world, it's what is your financial history. Have you studied history throughout the world? The history of money, which I've done. And have you studied the philosophies, the economic philosophies? You know, I don't really care if you're a Christian or Jew or Buddhist or whatever. But I do want to know if you're a Marxist or a capitalist, because those are philosophies. And most people are communists. The reason they're communists is because they're like my poor dad. They went to school. Our school system is taught by communism, communists. I would say 95% of all school teachers are hardcore Marxist. The trouble is they don't know it. So as you're sitting there studying, worrying about world history, about where we are in the economy, we're going into a depression. Why? Because I studied history. Now, is that good news or bad news? Well, that depends upon your financial education. I'm going to get richer than ever before, simply because I'm not stupid enough to chase the bubbles. I don't chase the real estate bubble. I don't chase the stock market bubble. The bond market is the biggest bubble of all. And then you have crypto. And so those guys who are chasing the bubbles will probably get wiped out. I'm going to take their money. And then there'll be blood in the streets. Those are all financial history terms. Blood in the streets is what's going to happen. That's why on some of my talks, I talk about you should have gold, silver, Bitcoin, and bullets.
Yep.
Don't go, yep. Most of your people are unarmed. The people of Thailand and Japan are unarmed. It's not safe. I am armed. I am a US Marine. I've killed a lot of people. That's the problem. And the people who have never been in a war have no idea what it's like to kill. So there's going to be blood in the streets, Rommie. There already is in America. You've seen all the rioting and all that. One of my better properties, just because the government is Marxist, is called the state of Oregon, because they let all the homeless camp around my properties.
Wow.
You know what they do to them in Brazil? They shoot them. Okay, so the people of Thailand and Japan, they're very good people, very highly educated, smart, but you're taught by communists and you're unarmed. You're sitting ducks. That's why I live in America.
Like you said in this book, I was reading this book, and you told about when the government is printing too much fake money, there's war, there's depression, and then there's revolution. So you see that coming for sure. Yep.
It's here.
Okay.
You already see it. I don't know if you guys pay attention to the news, but it's already here. It started in France with the yellow movement and all that stuff, and it's rioting all over the world right now. But it's when you see the homelessness in Los Angeles and Seattle and Portland. And now for the first time in Arizona, I see it. But I see it's generally Hispanic and Black people who are beggars. Now it's white people. So the good thing about poverty, it doesn't discriminate. The only unhomeless are Asians. I haven't seen any homeless Asians yet, and I have no plans on being one. I know I'm going to be called a racist for saying that, but I look at the race, I look at the gender, and they're right on the corner of Camelback and my street, 32nd. There's this really good-looking white woman, and she's holding up a sign. She says, "I'm homeless. Give me money." She's raking it in, man. Money's pouring in. They discriminate against gender. You know, if you're a woman, they give you money. If you're a Black guy, they don't give you any money. I'm going to get deplatformed for that one, right, Rommie?
Yep. So, Robert, so where do you see us heading into the future? How do you prepare for the future? You talk about gold, God's money in fake. Like that's where you hedge against fake money and people's money. And you talk about like owning like the 5Gs, the guns, gasoline, ground, and all that.
And bullets. You got to have bullets. I've made more money on bullets than all the gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And let me tell you, it's really sick. You know, I went to military school in New York. You know, I went to Vietnam twice. I was a Marine pilot. We killed a lot of people, innocent. I mean, I'm not talking about combatants. We're talking about civilians. Wow. They get caught in the crossfire. And that's the saddest thing of all, Rommie. It's sad that my classmates don't come back. But we flew into war to fight. So that some of them don't come back. And that's a sad, because of your friends. I'd be like, you don't come back, or Blair doesn't come back. There's this loss. But the saddest thing, Rommie, is when you see women and children and fathers and mothers and kids getting cut down in crossfire. And the only reason they're caught in the crossfire is because they can't fight back. And so that's why I say to the people of Thailand and Japan is you guys have already been disarmed. Americans are armed to the teeth. So in America also, they're planning, this guy, President Biden and Comrade Kamala, both communists, are, well, they are. They don't know it, but they are. They're trying to take away the assault weapon. And the assault weapon is this thing called the AR-15. I don't carry AR-15s. I carry M16s. The M16 is a full auto. And in America, it's legal for Americans to own full auto. Now, the laws are different and, you know, all that stuff. So I've got to be careful, make sure I obey the laws and all this. The trouble with owning a full auto is you don't fire one round at a time. When you pull that trigger, the standard M16 or the full military grade weapon fires at 800 rounds per minute. So you pull that trigger, 800 rounds are coming through. Now you have to reload really quickly, of course. So it's 800 rounds. And being a Marine, I had my M16 stepped up to 1,100 rounds per minute. So the burn rate of ammunition was so high that this is years and years ago when I first met you in Blair. I mean, I'm not Blair for years. But I used to go to the gun shows and I'd buy pallets of ammunition. Not because I was storing them, it's just because my guns fired so many, it's so fast. So I have all these pallets of it's called 5.56 or 2.23 ammunition. It's military grade weapons. It's what we fired in Vietnam. So I have these pallets of these 5.56 bullets, but I never shoot them because it's too expensive. So when this COVID thing broke out, suddenly bullets went into hiding, just like gold and silver are in hiding right now. So I was buying bullets at 7 cents per round. Today I can sell them for $1.50 per round. So I made about $8 million just on bullets. And what the US government is trying to do is they now want us to put like a stamp on every bullet. I don't know, some kind of tracking device or something. So if I shoot you with my bullet, they know who shot you.
Oh.
And so this is my point, Rommie. My ammunition becomes more valuable because they can't stamp it.
Well,
it's just history and philosophy, Rommie. It's history and philosophy. And you just don't go along with what they're telling you to do. If you've been disarmed and you're saving money and you're buying stocks and you think real estate's a good buy and you're in Bitcoin, you're probably going to lose everything. But that's good news for me, because it's called a short squeeze. Like let's say you own a new BMW, but your stock market crashes and you can't make payments on your BMW. And let's say a BMW in US terms is $50,000. If you need the cash, it's called a short squeeze. I'll walk up to you and say, I'll give you 100 bullets. And you can sell the bullets.
wow.
I'm a sick man. I know. Don't tell you know that.
Yeah, but Robert, like everything, like I was reading this book before talking to you the whole day, and everything you said in this book is coming true. Like everything you have said is coming true. It's like you're seeing the future. I mean, everybody should read this book again and again and again.
Thank you. Thank you for trusting. But let me go again. I was interviewing Jim Rogers again, who lives in Singapore, and he's locked down, like Blair was locked down, which is stupid. But anyway, no, I just won't put up with that. I'll leave. I'll leave. I would leave Singapore. But anyway, years and years ago, I read this book here. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's written by my friend G. Edward Griffin. This, if you really want to understand history of money, this is a very, 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 very good book. It's easy to read, G. Edward Griffin. And The Creature from Jekyll Island is a thing called the Federal Reserve Bank. And the reason that's important is the Federal Reserve Bank controls the money of the world. So if you really want to understand the source or the history of what's happening in the world today, it's this book here. And what this book says here, in 1913, the Federal Reserve Bank was created. It's not federal, it's not US, and it's not a bank. It's a cartel, just like OPEC is a cartel. And so everybody thinks it's this federal government. It's not. That's how stupid school teachers are. They don't teach you this. Also, so this was 1913, the Fed was created. And what else happened in 1913 was the tax department was created, Internal Revenue Service. And the thing that most people don't realize, because they went to school and they were taught by communists, 95% of all school teachers are communists. They salute Chairman Mao, Yep. So anyway, what happens in 1913, the Fed's created, and then they created the tax department, because money is a function of debt and taxes. So why am I in real estate? Why is Ken McElroy and my partner and I in real estate? It's because real estate is debt and we pay no taxes. And I do my best to tell people it's not about buying a stupid fucking house. It's about using debt and taxes as a way of preserving your wealth. So just last week, so I'm not against real estate. You just have to be smarter. So last week, Ken McElroy raised $160 million, and I get a chunk of that. Okay. I only want the debt. And that's what makes most people crazy, is because they're taught by these communist school teachers that you should get out of debt. And the reason they say that is they haven't read this book here. And if you study world history and you study communism It was Karl Marx who said, if you want to kill capitalism, raise taxes. And that's what Biden is doing right now. The second thing is that what Lenin said, so it was Marx, Lenin followed Marx. Then Lenin said, if you want to destroy capitalism, debudge the currency. So that's what happened in 1971 when President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard because the Japanese were selling too many products to America. So America and Japan and Germany, who are enemies during the World War II, Japan and Germany were sucking the gold out of America. They were sucking this out of America. This is a gold eagle. It's worth about $2,000 today. My first gold eagle I bought in Hong Kong was $35. It's the same coin. In 72, it was $35 in Hong Kong. Today it's $2,000. I started buying these things here. This is called a silver eagle. So I started collecting silver in 1964. Because what I started to see was a copper tinge around the edge of a US currency. And that's what this book is writing about here in the history of money, is that the way they rip us off is via our money. That's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So this book here, I was a student of a man named Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. It's called The Grudge of Giants. And the way your money is stolen, your wealth is stolen, is via the money you work for. So that's why if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's like, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and get out of debt and invest in the stock market. You're being brainwashed. I don't care if you're brainwashed, but that's what you get for learning from stupid communist school teachers like my poor dad. If you understand that, then you can change your philosophy. If you don't change your philosophy and you don't study history, then you'll sit there going, oh, what's going to happen? Tell me what to do. And that's why I'm Japanese, I'm fourth generation Japanese. The blacks in America are talking about how the blacks are mistreated. Well, my family was put in concentration camps in California. They lost everything during World War II. But that's why my family went to World War II. They fought in a battalion called the 442nd. It was an all-Japanese battalion. And they're the most highly decorated battalion in U.S. history. They started in North Africa, worked all the way up. They liberated Dachau, some of the concentration camps of the Jews and all that. But you don't find us crying and moaning like the blacks. We're saying, oh, Jap lives matter too. Fuck them guys. So that's why I'm a different person. I went to military school. I didn't go to snowflake college. I don't listen to communist school teachers. I listen to capitalists. I study history, and I know my philosophy. I don't care if you're a Marxist. I don't care if you're a communist, like most school teachers are. Just don't take my freedoms away. Just don't take my freedoms away. So if you want to be communist, fine. I want to be a capitalist, fine. But don't try and force me to be a communist. You want to be a communist? Up to you. You want to be a gay, caballero, homosexual, jumping around the place? Have fun. I really don't care. But don't tell me to like your little tutu you're wearing. I am a U.S. Marine. I don't care if you're gay. Pick up a gun and shoot somebody. That's all I care. We had gay Marines. We didn't care. But for some reason, this society seems to give all this care. The biggest thing I'll say to Japanese and to the Thais, you guys are unarmed. And you're sitting right next to the biggest, most horrible country on earth is North Korea. That's why Trump went there. He went to face the enemy. North Korea is one of the most despotic countries in the world, financed by China. North Korea is like Vietnam. If you understand that, then you say, well, how come they took my gun away? Okay, why am I working for yen or baht when I should be having silver or gold? And what Americans work for is this toilet paper. This is called the Zimbabwe. This is 10 million Zimbabwe dollars. This is what school teachers tell you to work for. This piece of crap toilet paper. Oh, every school teacher, oh, they're going to give me a pay raise. I want a pay raise. That's how fucking stupid school teachers are. That's my poor dad. The smart guys have silver, gold, Bitcoin, early round Bitcoin, and bullets.
Wow. And like from what you were saying, Robert, like there's one phrase that you said in a book, like really caught up with me is education does not teach us about printing money, but teaches us about working for someone who prints money. And that's really
Biden is going to print 10 trillion this year. 10 trillion of these. In 2008, all they printed was 700,000. 700 billion. They're going to print 10 trillion of these this year. So that's why I'm buying more of this and more of this. The trouble is you can't even buy silver anymore and you can't find bullets.
Oh.
Okay. So let me talk to the Thai and the Japanese people. It used to be you could fly from Tokyo or Bangkok. You could come to America. You could go to a gun show and you could buy all the guns and bullets you wanted. They've stopped that. Okay. That's why I bought it all early, because I studied history and philosophy. So they're trying to take my guns, bullets, Bitcoin, gold, silver, because they want to make me like a Thai or Japanese. And by the way, my two of my uncles fought in World War II. They fought against the Japanese. One was captured. And he has no love for the Japanese, the military. You know why? Because as a POW, they castrated him. That's why he has no kids. So if the trouble with most people who go to snowflake colleges and all that, they haven't really seen the real world. That's why they're school teachers and employees and doctors and lawyers, but they're never entrepreneurs who are on the front line fighting. You're taught to hide in the background, become a school teacher or a doctor or an engineer, web designer, but not really a capitalist.
Robert, why is it more important than ever to become a capitalist now? Like in countries like in USA, in Japan, in Thailand, why is it more important than ever to become a capitalist?
Let's call a word called freedom. You see, when you look at the I don't know where my book is here. Let me find it. All of the stuff I wrote about Rommie, if they haven't read it, fuck them. Do you know what I mean? If you want to be a fucking employee, a fucking doctor or a lawyer, fine. You're controlled by the government. So this here, so this was book 2 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Employee, small business, self-employed, big business, 500 employees or more, or I stands for investor, inside investor. I don't touch stocks, bonds, and mutual funds or ETFs. They're made by Wall Street. I don't touch them. I don't have a 401k. I don't touch them because I don't need to, because I am a capitalist. I'm an inside investor. I put my own deals together. You know, I formed a gold mining company in China, and the Chinese took it. I have no love for the Chinese right now. Not the people. The people are fine. It's the government. Communist government took my gold mine. I was a billionaire for about a year. They took it. My silver mine was in Argentina. I still have it. I made fortunes. I don't touch stocks. as an entrepreneur, I put my own deal together. B stands for big business, 500 employees or more. It also stands for brand. I started the Rich Dad brand. And so when you look at guys like Warren Buffett, he doesn't invest in these guys here. He invests in brands. If you understand that mental shift, so most of the people listening to this call right now, the reason you're sitting over here, because you went to school and your mommy and daddy are over here too. And then they told you to go to school, get a job, work hard, become a doctor or a lawyer, and work for money. That's what schools teach you. That's what I'm saying. People do not learn from history and they don't study philosophy. They were trained to be communists. Okay. So if you understand that, the purpose of listening to this is it's your choice. You want to spend the rest of your life over here? That's freedom. I chose to spend my life over here. When I came back from Vietnam, I said, I'll never follow my poor dad. This is poor dad. This is rich dad. This side is freedom. This side is no freedom. See, a doctor must operate under the controls of big pharma in the hospitals. Over here, I'm free to do what I want. So most people are puppets, like Joe Biden and Comrade Kamala are puppets. Let me say why they're puppets. They were the least popular. When you look back upon when they were starting to run against President Trump, was a friend of mine. I don't know if people know he's my friend, but I know he's hated by most people, but he's a very good man. Very good. He's a capitalist, but that's why they hate him. Communists hate capitalists. I know you hate Trump, you're a fucking communist. That's the reason. Okay? Capitalists love him. So anyway, when I watched the elections coming up against Trump, the two most weakest candidates were Biden and Kamala. They were the weakest. But our elections are so rigged that they had to find two puppets to come to the forefront. The leaders at the time were Bernie Sanders, an avowed communist, and a woman named Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii. She was really good. I'd vote for Tulsi all day long. She's a Democrat, but she was a tough woman, military girl.
She's a veteran.
I vote for the person, but they had to bring up the two weakest guys, basically puppets, Biden and Kamala. And now, Biden's going to be taken out. We all know that. And President Harris is going to be the next person, and she's a hardcore communist. She won't admit it. And we all know how she came to the top. I mean, everybody knows how she came to the top. She made it to the top the way most corporate women make it to the top, on her knees. Come on, you know that, right?
Yep.
She had sex with some of the most powerful men in California.
Wow.
But that goes on every day, Rommie. Nothing's different. This has been going on since men walked the earth. So that's what we are today. So what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to get a pay raise. Oh, I got $10 million now, but it's still toilet paper. That's how stupid people are, because they went to school to learn from school teachers who are communists.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to jump from the E and the S to B and I? Is it the spirit? Because you talk about spiritual, you have to have big, your spirit needs to be big. You need to be able to change ethnic mistakes. Why is it so hard for people from the E and S to become B and I?
Well, when you look at the mantra of school, the Buddhists talk about mantras. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market. That's these people here. It's running in their heads. If you don't change that mantra, nothing changes. If you don't say, well, maybe I shouldn't go to school, maybe I shouldn't get a job, maybe I shouldn't work hard, maybe I shouldn't pay taxes, maybe how do I use debt? So a lot depends upon your teachers and the freedom. And I don't mind. Like in America, there's a guy named Dave Ramsey, he's a friend of mine. He says live debt free. Well, the only reason I'm a rich man is because I'm deeply in debt. I borrow money to buy assets. Now, should you do that? No, I don't recommend it. I just say what I do. If you're going to borrow money to buy assets, you better go to school. So in 1973, when I came back from Vietnam, I went to real estate school. I also then went to work for Xerox so I could learn how to sell, because every entrepreneur has got to sell. And the reason you join Blair Singer's program is you have to learn how to sell and communicate. But most people can't sell and most people can't communicate. They're so afraid of rejection. So it's just basic skills. But most people are operating on this side because they're listening to their mommy and daddy and their school teachers. And until you change what's between your left ear and your right ear, nothing's going to change. And so this is the reason we teach the cash flow game is, I'm sorry. So humans have four intelligences. This is a tetrahedron from Buckminster Fuller. The first intelligence is mental. Reading, writing, arithmetic. So most smart people are here. But a capitalist, an entrepreneur, must have this is called emotional intelligence, EQ. This is the most powerful of all intelligences. The reason E's and S's cannot change is because they've been taught not to make mistakes, the fear of failing. And the reason they buy crypto at the high part is called FOMO, fear of missing out. It's really stupid. I mean, they're really fucking stupid people because emotionally they're stupid. They cannot control their emotions. And being a Marine, this was number one. Could I fly into combat with people trying to kill me and fight back? The average E and S has got no cojones, as they say in Mexican. They have no balls. And then if they debt, then it affects, this is called physical. What do you do? So if you're taught, well, you should go to school, get a job, and don't make mistakes, you do nothing. They sit paralyzed, especially the stupid Japanese. The Japanese, domo. I'm fourth generation Japanese. I had to stop being Japanese. I had to become a capitalist. And this one here is spiritual. So these are the four intelligences that make up a human being. Our schools focus here, and then they tell you don't make mistakes and don't cheat, don't cooperate. Well, every time I flew into battle, I flew with the entire US military behind me. We flew in a flight of 6 aircraft. We all back each other up. We fight as teams. But that's called cheating in school. And then, physically, we had to pull the trigger when we had to pull the trigger. We have to do something. So in business, I make a lot of mistakes. It's like Tiger Woods. The reason he's the best golfer in world history is he's made a lot of mistakes. And the average person hasn't made, why am I not a good golfer? I haven't made enough mistakes yet. And then spiritual is what keeps you going when things are really, it's what drives you on. So that's why the mission of the Rich Dad Company is spiritual, to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. Not encourage you to go to school, become a communist and invest in the stock market. That's not what we do. I mean, I'm willing to put my life on the line because I don't like what our schools are teaching people. I don't like school teachers. Education's important, but the question is, what are you being taught? You're being taught Marxism and Leninism and Maoism. You could teach, the Tao, you could talk about Christianity and all that. No, but they're teaching Marxism and Leninism. So that's spiritual. I'll fight back. I know they're going to, Rommie, they see them come after me. Those fucking communist school teachers and journalists will come after me anyway. They'll probably take this video down because they're communists. They're censorship. Don't take my freedom. In America, they censor people. They make you wear a mask and they force you to take this vaccine. I refuse to. Screw you. Kim and I bought a jet because I don't want to go in. I don't want to fly commercial anymore. Wow. I don't like it. They make me wear a mask. I just fly my jet. That's capitalism.
Yep.
But the reason most people don't get there, especially the Asians, is because you're taught to be here. If the Japanese want to look for heroes, what one would be Honda. They built some of the fastest and best cars in the world. And there was Morita. I think he was Sony. You need entrepreneurs, but our schools are pumping out these guys here, and they're communists. They believe in printing money. They believe in joining labor unions. They believe in taxation, which I don't. I'd rather not pay taxes. I'd rather make all the money I want. And I don't want to save money. I want to borrow money. Okay, so everything's opposite, Rommie. You know that. That's why I say what I say. But it takes courage. It takes this here. And my family, I'm fourth generation, but my family are all samurai, both sides.
Wow.
And it's the Bushido code. That you'd rather commit suicide, harakiri, than disgrace. So I would say that most school teachers in Japan should commit harakiri.
Robert, what if you are a millennial in Thailand or in Japan? What would you recommend them do? Like if you're a millennial coming out of college from Japan and Thailand, and you don't know what to do, what do you recommend them? Start their study, or what do you recommend them to do?
What?
If you
gotta speak from your gut, not your mouth.
Okay. What would you recommend a millennial who just came out of college or who are 25 years old? What would you recommend them do in this pandemic? Like if they came out of college or? Yep.
I don't know. I knew as a kid I was going to be a capitalist. If you're looking for a job, you're probably going to be a communist. That's fine. We need communists. But it's inside of you already. Now, if this video makes you angry, then you should definitely stay in school. But if this video inspires you, then maybe you should learn something different. Like, that's why I already said it. I don't know how many times I've said it. I come back from Vietnam and I went to work for Xerox. Why? Because every entrepreneur has got to know how to sell. And the reason most people can't sell is because they're afraid. It's because of this here. Emotional intelligence. Mexicans call it no cojones, no testicles. That's men and women. So when I met Kim, a lot of friends said to me, what is she doing with you? What is this beautiful woman doing with you? She's this hot blonde from Sweden, she's gorgeous. She didn't marry me for my money because I didn't have any. She didn't marry a rich guy because I wasn't rich. And she made it on her own. But when I met her, she was in network marketing. And I went, I love this woman. So what I say to women, most women want to marry a rich guy, so they marry a doctor. But they're not rich because doctors are the most boring people on earth, and they pay the highest taxes. They pay 60% in taxes. So when I met Kim, she was already going on this side here. So there's a lot of beautiful women out there. Big deal. So what if you're beautiful, But when I met her, I fell in love with her because she wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so together we had nothing. We worked hard for years and years and years and years building the Rich Dad company. And now she's a freaking multimillionaire. We're getting separated. We're probably going to get divorced. Just like Bill and Melinda Gates are getting divorced. You know, I mean, she said, I don't need you anymore. She has enough money. Okay. When a woman has enough money, they don't need men. You know that, I know that. Oh, that's not true. Oh, come on, give me a break. Give me a fucking break here. Okay. So, I mean, I love her madly and all this, but I have to leave the Rich Dad company simply because it's her company. So I can start companies, really. I start companies all the time. But I love her madly. We've been separated for 4 years now. I never, you saw me on the road. I've never cheated on her. I have plenty of women always on me, but I don't cheat on her. I will now because we're separated. But anyway, there's plenty of pretty women. But I want one who wants to come on this side here. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
And so when I met Kim, I went, holy mackerel. Beautiful brains, and she wants to come here. So we held hands back at, that's when, Blair was around at the time. And we all traveled to California and we built huge businesses together. But now she doesn't need me anymore. She's made, she's a multi-million, but most importantly, she's got the brains to be an entrepreneur. So I'm going to go start another business because all I do is start businesses. So I don't need to be in the Rich Dad company anymore. She has to change it to Rich Woman, I think. But women need to know how to be on this side. Because what most women marry are doctors and lawyers, the most boring people on earth, and they pay the highest taxes. Why waste your time? But there's a lot of women who want to marry rich men, so I got to be careful because I get hit on a lot. But they're not over here. You understand that, Rommie? They're called gold diggers. They want to marry a rich guy, screw him, and take his money. So I've got to be very, we all know the game. We all know the game. We're adults here. Yep. Women only want men with money. But when they got their money, they don't need them anymore. They just need them to raise the kids, put food on the table. But once they're rich, they're out. And that's where Kim's at. I've met a lot of them. America has a lot of Kims, very, very rich women. But they don't need men anymore. Yep. Okay, so as long as you know the game, it's money, sex, and power. Money, sex, power. That's the real driver. It happens in Japan too, I promise you. It happens in Thailand too. I remember my first trip to Japan, I had no money. I'm trying to raise money. And so I'm at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. And the first question, these guys who are on this side here, because I was trying to raise money from them. The first thing they asked me is, how many mistresses do you have? And every Japanese person, male or female, know that rich men have mistresses. So when I said I had none, they knew I was poor. And that's throughout history. Yep. I have an aunt who says, oh, I related to Genghis Khan or one of those guys. I said, well, that guy had 4,000 kids. I mean, do you understand? It's called hypergamy. Yep. In the animal kingdom and the human kingdom, the strongest male screws the most female. And that's the way of keeping the male genetics the strongest. So in ancient times, the strongest male had a concubine of women. So he could breed them, and then there would be more strong genetic offspring coming out. That's historic. Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not true. Just look at history. It's history and philosophy. So what happens today, where it's not the Christian church or whatever the religion says you should only have one wife, well, the genetics are going down. because the rich guys, the strongest male, is not breeding. So they have to cheat. Nothing's changed, Rommie. History and philosophy. And history proves we don't learn from history. Okay, so if we're adults here, that's what's going on. The worst thing about it for women is this. The more successful women get, the fewer men are available to them. And the reason for that is that women do this science called hypergamy, always marry or mate with stronger males. So if a woman, let's say, is 45 and she's multi-millionaire, there's fewer men that are available to her. But a guy who's 45 and is a multi-millionaire, he has more women available to him. That's hypergamy. That's really the way the animal kingdom works. The strongest male breeds the most women. And I know I'm going to get deplatformed for this too. I am, you know what I mean? But people, you know, that there was that movie, Jack Nicholson, it's called A Few Good Men, about the Marines. He says, you can't handle the truth. And people go, oh, no. The way the world really works is the fairy princess is going to meet the fairy prince. It's called Meghan and Harry. You know what I mean? That's a disaster.
Yep.
I mean, that's a case of a powerful woman taking apart a weak man. And I liked Harry. I thought he was the best of the entire royal family. But now the royal dream is now a royal nightmare. He married a woman who's going to take his nuts off. He gave up the monarchy for her. No, come on, you got to wake up, man. People live in this fantasy land of, someday my prince will come, and then someday I'll meet the fairy princess, and we'll hold hands. We'll get married and live happily ever after. No, it doesn't work that way, sweetheart. It doesn't work that way. Especially today with women getting richer and richer and richer, they don't need you. So if you guys want to attract more women, get richer. And if you women want to attract younger men, get richer and just hire them.
So true. So true.
So all you beautiful women out there, don't marry. You know, there was a movie, I think, called The Great Gatsby, starring Robert Redford. And he said in the movie, the classic line is, the woman said to him, this is, rich girls don't marry poor boys. That's hypergamy. Women always have to move up. And when they have enough money, they don't need you anymore. So Kim is more beautiful than ever before. She's drop dead gorgeous and all that. But the trouble is, there's only a fewer men that are hotter, if you know what I mean. Whereas me, there are plenty. That's called hypergamy. Rich girls don't marry poor boys, but rich boys get all the girls.
Wow. That's true. Robert, I have to ask you this question about COVID. What do you think about COVID? Like, is it manufactured? Is it like, what do you, like, it doesn't make sense. People are in lockdown and the economy is crashing. It's moving everything so fast. The economy is not like, they're printing money like crazy, giving it to people. It's like, the whole thing is going crazy. And there's more snowflakes more than ever out there trying to invest in stock markets and all that stuff. It's like, the whole world's going crazy.
Okay, so let's just say I've had COVID. It's not that bad. It's bullshit. You know, I mean, and one of the reasons I'm healthier today is because my doctor, Dr. Gopalan, who's on my team, he says COVID is a function of health. So if you're healthy, you have a chance of fighting it. But if you're fat, diabetic, high blood pressure, which I had, you'll get it bad. It'll kill you. So if you're weak, it'll kill you. If you're strong, you can fight it. So the good news is when I got it, it was good. I got healthier, worked out, just like you, lost my weight and listened to my doctor. So it was good about it. But what happened is on the macro, when you study books like this here, you see a different picture. The creature from Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve Bank, is what happened. Is this was on September 17th, 2019. This is history and philosophy. September 17th, 2019, there was a crash in what's called the repo market. The repo market is part of what they call the shadow banking system. The shadow banking system is what Trump was calling the swamp. And the communists and the academics control the swamp, the criminals. So when Trump says we're going to drain the swamp, he was talking about the shadow banking system. So on September 17th, 2019, the COVID market, the repo market collapses. The repo market is where the biggest bankers go to borrow money. It's kind of like a pawn shop, So let's say you're Bank of America, Rommie, and you need money. You go to the repo market and you say, I have so many securities, and the repo market gives you the money. So it's like you go there to borrow money, or it's like in America, we have what's called a payday loan. So you're short a lot of cash, you go to the payday loan, they give you a few dollars, you put your watch there or something, and you're okay. It's the biggest market in the world. All these Bitcoin guys, they don't have any idea what's going on in that repo market. That's why they're small. They think small. But anyway, so September 17, 2019, the repo market crashed. What that meant was the debt was going like this, and the cash was going like this. So that's like you finding out you lost your job, but you still have a house payment. So that's what the repo market is on a global scale. So the repo market crashed, and then in November, a friend of mine called me from Singapore and said, hey, there's a strange thing coming out of China. I didn't pay attention to it. And it turns out it was COVID-19. And then I got it, and I went, that ain't so bad. But then you couldn't say anything about it. They shut everything down. They shut the whole economy down. So I have no proof, but I think they're related. I think the repo market, and so they could pump trillions of dollars into the repo market, which is what Biden is doing because it's collapsing right now. That's my opinion, Rommie. I have no proof of that. But they needed COVID as an excuse to shut the economy down so they could go to what's called MMT, modern monetary theory, or I call it Marxist monetary theory, or helicopter money. They could dump money straight into the economy, but they first had to weaken everybody. They had to weaken the entire world economy. This is what Fuller wrote about here in Grudge, which I studied. They had to destroy the economy, then pump money into it. And that's why we're bust. And that's why for all these years I said, get this stuff here. Silver, this is gold. And this is what those communist school teachers told us to work for. That's why the school teachers are criminals, because they're part of the criminal operation called the Federal Reserve Bank, the US Treasury, the banking system, and Wall Street. They're all part of what's called the shadow banking system. And the school system is a very big part of it.
And what you said about all this, and it was so convenient that last year in December or November, I think you talked about it, where IMF came out and said that they want to have a new Bretton Woods agreement, like they want to push out SDR. And it's so convenient for them to say that right after COVID. It's like everything seems pre-planned. It seems like that.
Correct. It's very coincidental. Okay. It's history and philosophy. That's what, let's go to Rich Dad Radio, listen to Jim Rogers and me talk about it. is that history proves people don't learn from history. We're going into the biggest depression in world history, Rommie. So the people that will win have this. Even Bitcoin has a chance of making it. And a lot of bullets. But don't hang on to this here. You want to convert this to this. When I was in Tokyo last couple of years ago for the Rugby World Cup, I'm a rugby player.
Yep.
Went to the Rugby World Cup, and they wanted to know how much gold I had. They didn't ask if I had drugs. It's how much gold do you have? Because as long as this and this are enemies, that's why gold and silver, the prices, I believe, have no proof, are manipulated. They must be kept down on the futures market. But when it all busts, this and this will be God's money again. That's my prediction. I could be wrong.
And you say that Bitcoin, people money still have a chance. Do you think, because you talk about Bitcoin a lot, not like on your website or on your social media, do you think they have a chance?
Well, you got to look at, again, Rommie, you got to look at the bigger picture, okay? How long do you think these guys will let Bitcoin do what it's doing?
Not long.
No. So this is my prediction. I have no proof. I have no proof that COVID and the repo market are related. But I studied this for so long, is that the prediction is the trouble with Bitcoin, it's decentralized. Communism is centralized. So as long as the Bitcoin guys and the Ethereum guys and all that are screwing with communism, decentralized, it's called central planning is communism. Bitcoin is decentral. It's opposite. There's always opposite. So if that continues, then it's going to be called, the US will put out what's called the Fed coin. Okay. The Euro will put out the Euro coin. The Chinese are already experimenting with the Yuan coin. I think some country, El Salvador, who cares about them, but they just announced El Salvador coin. But you got to look at what's going to happen. If the Fed produces the Federal Reserve coin, the banking system will be destroyed. So Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, gone. Why is that? Because when you study money and banking history, it's called a transmission mechanism. And that's what I learned from this book here and this book here, and all the stuff I'm studying. It's called the transmission mechanism. So how does money enter the system? So in 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, that's when it became fake money, fake teachers, fake assets, and criminal school teachers, because they were part of this, their accomplices. So the way that money is created right now is I go to the bank and I say to Mr. Banker, I have a real estate project. I need this was last week, I need $160 million. And the bank goes, this is, let's say US Bank or Wells Fargo, says, oh, thank you very much. And like magic, $160 million is created. And it enters, that's how it's called the transmission. So it enters the system, the global US system, the global system, by guys like me coming in and borrowing money. So money goes out, I put it into construction, jobs, wages, and all that stuff. The moment it goes to Fed coin, they don't need the banks. it becomes pure communism. It's called pure central planning. So the money goes straight to the people. That's what they're doing in America today. It's called PPP and the MMT and UBI and all this stuff. It's basically they're going to give the money straight to the people. That means they don't need banking system anymore. It's all crypto. So what's going to happen in the near future is that truck drivers will be out of work because there's going to be driverless trucks. And pretty soon, even bankers won't be able to get truck driving jobs because you won't need bankers either. So it's going to be, that's when we go pure communism. And the world economy collapses, but it goes 100% centralized, becomes Marxist. And so why will gold and silver and Bitcoin be valuable? Because it's still outside the system. And if Bitcoin survives and it's outside the system, it'll be more valuable if you have some. This is my prediction, don't count on it. But it's the same with bullets. They're already saying about bullets is they're going to register every bullet. That's why I said to you, if I shoot you, they goes, oh, Robert shot you. So they're going to control everything via blockchain. So right now I'm preparing not to be a victim of that. And I want as much gold, silver, Bitcoin, and bullets as possible. And I know how to use debt. Because they still need debtors at some level to pay the bills. Because the money became debt in 1971. But that's why 1971, also in 1913, they also had to have the Internal Revenue Service to collect the taxes. It's all related globally. It's one big system. Okay, so it's the transmission, the way money is created today, 2021, is guys like me going and borrow money. But the average person can't borrow $100 million. So the way they get money into the system, give them a credit card, and in America, student loans. That's how money is getting into the system now, but it's keeping the poor and students in debt. And that's why there's no financial education in school, and that's why school teachers are communists. They work for the system. But they don't, I mean, they're good people, Rommie. They're good people. They just haven't been taught anything about money. That's all. That's not a mistake.
Thank you, Robert. I think that was very valuable. Any last word before we finish it off, Robert? Any last word before we finish it off to the Thai people or Japanese people listening to this?
Don't be Japanese. You know? Well, it's not about being Japanese or Thai. Become a capitalist. You see, I'm telling you, when this market crashes, there'll be a depression. Poverty doesn't care if you're Japanese, Thai, black, white, green, purple. Money doesn't care. But if you're a capitalist, you're going to make more money. See, I can create money out of thin air. I don't need money. You see me do it all the time.
Yep.
I just made another $2 million last week on a Green New Deal venture. I put $5,000 in it, and today it's worth $2 million.
Wow.
And I do those all the time. I mean, it's called infinite returns and all that. It's all up here. That's why I created the cash flow board game. That's why I have cash flow clubs. That's why we have real teachers on, Rich Dad Radio and stuff like this. Most school teachers and most financial planners are fake. Most stockbrokers are fake. Most real estate agents are fake. They're just salespeople. They're good people, but they don't know shit about money. They just want you to sell you a house, sell you some stocks, sell you some bonds, sell you a subscription to their newsletter. I don't blame them, but they're not teaching you capitalism. If you're a capitalist, which means you use other people's money and other people's time, you'll get rich. You don't need money to be a capitalist. You need financial education.
Wow. Thank you, Robert. And you talk about it in this book too, where you can create money how using other people's money and other people's time. I recommend people read it again and again. I'm reading it second time, maybe third time and fourth time. It's really good.
Rommie, I am honored, and you're a great teacher because you're actually practicing what you teach.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it.
Yep.
I'm
Thank
honored.
you. Thank you, and honored to have you here. Thank you very much.
Sawadee.
Sawadi krap.
Thank you.